If your claim's been denied or stuck, this is for you. Here's the plan. 1, we're going to be talking about tinnitus and why it's usually capped at 10%. 2, we're going to be talking about migraines, the rating language that is critical to you getting the rating you deserve, and the 3 numbers that really tie into that. 3, we're going to be talking about joint pain and range of motion tests done right. Miss any piece and you could still leave months or years of back pain on the table. And a reminder, please keep watching this. I'm going to give you an exam blueprint that puts all these into a 60-second script right at the end of this. Tinnitus is rated under the tinnitus code, and recurrent tinnitus is a 10% rating, period. The VA assigns one evaluation, whether it's in one ear, both ears, or it's just in your head, meaning that you stacking your ears doesn't increase your scheduler rating. It's the one of the few places where you don't get a bilateral bonus, if you will. The impact still does matter, so document the sleep problems, the trouble concentrating, safety issues. If you have to use a radio for work, alarms, situational awareness, waking up for work even could be an issue. And that context can support related conditions, even if tinnitus itself stays at just 10%. Now, if your tinnitus notes are scattered, vetclaims.ai can create a one-page tinnitus impact statement that mirrors the rating considerations and highlights downstream effects to discuss with your provider. Migraines are rated under the migraine diagnostic code, and your rating hinges on how often the attacks happen and how hard they take you down. The latter, in plain English, goes like this. 0% equals less frequent attacks, 10% is prostrating attacks about once every 2 months, 30% is prostrating attacks about once a month, and 50%, which is the max rating for migraines, means very frequent, completely prostrating, prolonged attacks that cause severe economic inadaptability. You don't have to be totally unemployable, but your work is significantly disrupted. Economic inadaptability is something that you'll see throughout the schedule ratings and most commonly referenced when talking about this migraine rating. So what does it mean? Well, it means that you have these migraines that cause you to miss work, have caused trouble with work, could potentially cause you to lose a job or have caused you to lose a job. This is what is defined by economic inadaptability. Don't get wrapped around the spokes thinking that it has to mean that you're unemployed right now. If you are, more credence to it, but if you're not, don't think that that disqualifies you from getting the rating that you deserve. If you have migraines that are this frequent, which I know many of you do, don't be hesitant. We're going to walk you through how to do this. What does prostrating mean? It means you're down. The lights are off. It's a quiet room, and you literally have to be in that quiet, dark environment with no distractions, no external noise until this resolves. You're not functioning. This is what prostrating means, and that is why using that word as it's used in the schedule of ratings is so critical. There's 3 numbers that move ratings, and I need you to memorize these. 1 is the frequency. How many prostrating attacks per month are occurring? 2, time down. How many hours in a dark room or in bed? How long are they affecting you for until they resolve? And 3, work impact. How many missed shifts, early departures, accommodations, or safety concerns have you had? How many days has it ruined or interrupted? Now, let's build your migraine packet. A 90-day migraine log, including the date and the time. Was it prostrating? What was the duration? Did you take any meds? Was there other side effects? Did you notice a trigger? What time down? Like, how long did it take before this resolved? And did it have a work or social impact? And then third-party statement. Family or coworkers who have seen you flat out in dark rooms, seen you go through this suffering. And finally, your treatment trial. Neurology notes, triptan refills, injections or infusions, anything of the sort that backs the severity of these claims. Turning 90 days of notes into a clean summary is painful, not gonna lie. Now, luckily, vetclaims.ai can auto-generate a prostrating attack summary that counts the qualifying attacks and highlights your work disruptions and formats this into a language that you can hand directly to your examiner. This removes ambiguity and all questions to make sure that the VA gives you the rating that you actually deserve. The VA rates degrees of motion with a gyneometer. I don't think that's how you pronounce it, but they also consider functional loss, pain, and weakness. Fatigability and coordination, especially during flare-ups. These are 3 pillars that you must hit though. Pillar 1, functional loss. It's not just the angle, it's how pain and other factors limit your normal working movement. Strength, speed, coordination, endurance, especially during flare-ups. Your words and how you describe this matter. Pillar 2, painful motion. The rule is that if motion is actually painful, you're entitled to at least the minimum compensable rating for that joint, even if the raw angle looks non-compensable. What that really means is that even if you don't have the lack of range of motion that should be rated, you still can get rated, as long as you describe how painful that motion is to the C&P exam. Pillar 3, this is how testing is done. A solid exam should know active versus passive motion, weight-bearing versus non-weight-bearing, and what happens after this repetitive use. During flare-ups, the examiner should estimate the additional loss when possible. What that means is that if you go into your C&P exam, chances are you're not going to be having a flare-up that day because that's how the world works. But you should be able to describe and show them like, hey, this is what it's like on a good day, but on a bad day, it's 10%, 20% worse. And here's how it's worse. Using that descriptive language that we're talking about here when it comes to that range of motion, the fatigability, the inflammation, many things that go into that. They can use statements and logs to do that, but ultimately, your description to the examiner is going to be what matters the most. How you describe your pain, flares, and function can drive that estimate, and when range of motion alone isn't enough, remember that painful motion can get you there. Now, let's talk about degenerative arthritis. That can still get you a 10% based on if it's confirmed painful motion or if it's multiple minor joints. Check the diagnostic codes for your joint, and don't forget that there is a bilateral factor. What that means is, let's say both of my knees are messed up. There's a multiplier that you get if both your knees have painful motion. That alone can push many people over the rating level that they need. Measurement standards do exist. The VA uses standard positions and angles for measurement. If your report doesn't show the standard positioning, that range of motion number is suspect, and that's appeal ammo. But here's the other truth of that. It's incredibly hard for you to get the notes from your C&P exam. This is where understanding what they're supposed to be doing and understanding what's actually on the DBQ for that claim. The DBQ is what the C&P examiner is going to be looking at. What's actually on there, if they're not doing it and you understand that, you can call the VA immediately following the exam and say, hey, this was an improper C&P exam. It's that simple. Logging flares is tedious. If you don't want to wrangle spreadsheets, vetclaims.ai can turn a month of quick notes into a range of motion and flare summary in plain English that you can hand directly to your examiner. Segment 1A. Bring this to your C&P exam and the clinic that you go to for regular treatment. The pain onset angle is something that you need to understand. So pain begins at blank and function stops at blank. Meaning, if it starts to get painful here, but I literally can't move it past here, those would be the two different angles. And you can ask the clinic that treats you, like where you go for regular help, to capture both. Or you can ask your spouse, friend, whoever, and you can log it yourself. Now, repetitive overuse change. Let's say that I can normally, it's painful here, stops here. But after I do 3 reps, it's painful immediately and it only goes to here. That is where you can log that the range drops from pain angle to increase angle. You can do this at a clinic. That's probably the most valid way to do this, but you can also just do it at home. And as long as you're logging this and you come prepared, like, hey, this is what happens when it's flared up, I actually measured it, you look squared away in the eyes of that C&P examiner, and you're going to have an easier time getting the rating you deserve. When it comes to flare-ups, how often, how long, and what you can't do when they're happening. Lift, reach, stand, kneel, turn on your neck, sleep, can't go to work. What is it actually limiting you in? Which is where we go to functional loss. So during a flare, I cannot drive, type, lift more than X number of pounds or stand longer than 20 minutes. Being able to describe the functional impact that this is going to have on your life or is having on your life is a key component, right? It cannot be overlooked, and many veterans do. They don't want to say, oh, this stops me from enjoying so-and-so or being sexually active or going to work or working the job that I used to love. But you have to convey those things because no one knows that but you. Let's talk about stability and devices. Are you using braces or a cane? Are you using TENS units or injections? Have you had surgeries? Any of these things are just critical to list in there. And while we're on this like functional embrace stuff, let's talk about your work and daily activities. Are you missing time at work? Do you have modified duties? Is it requiring you to have an accommodation? Has it caused trouble at work? Does it make you a safety risk, or do you think it's a safety risk? So now we're going to go over the 60-second exam blueprint. We're going to start with joints. Pain starts at blank and function stops at blank. Now these are going to be degrees. You're going to want to use a protractor. You're going to want to have a clinic or a spouse help you with that. Pain starts at blank and function stops at blank. Please document active, passive, weight balancing, and non-weight bearing and repetitive use. These are the things that are going to matter. During flare-ups, I lose about blank and I can't do X tasks. You're going to want to hand over your flare log, which talks about the frequency, the duration, and the functional loss, plus any devices that you may use. Now let's talk about migraines real quick. I have a blank number of prostrating attacks per month, averaging blank hours of downtime in a dark room, and in the last 90 days, I missed blank number of shifts and left early blank number of times. You're going to hand over your 90-day migraine log and any witness statements that can corroborate the symptoms and the level of severity you're dealing with. Now let's talk about that tinnitus. Recurrent tinnitus affecting sleep, concentration, and any specific safety tasks or work or social issues. You're going to hand over your tinnitus impact statement and any related hearing info that you have. You can say all of that in under 1 minute if you practice it once or twice. Keep that in your head as you go into your C&P exams, or if you go to vetclaims.ai, our C&P prep team will ensure that you have all that not only written down, but specific to your case, your symptoms, and what you're going through. If you want this blueprint filled from your notes, vetclaims.ai can generate a DBQ-ready summary for all your joints, prostrating attacks, summary of your migraines, and a tinnitus impact statement. You print it and you bring it with, and you get the rating that you deserve. I want you to understand that if you miss the right phrase, you risk a lowball rating. If you skip the right log, you could risk getting denied. But with the range of motion rules and the migraine language and realistic expectations for tinnitus, you're back in control. Comment where you're stuck below and share this with another veteran who needs it. And I'm proud of you for doing the hard work. I'll see you in the next one. And thank you for supporting VetClaims.ai.